A very warm welcome to you as you join us on today's episode of Tax Matters. Yes, Tax Matters, the program, is 20 years old, having debuted on NTA2 Channel 5 Lagos on Wednesday the 5th of July, year 2000. The celebration continues today on this episode with more excerpts from the interview we conducted with the concept developer and producer of Tax Matters. Things are gradually looking up in the economy with the further easing of the COVID-19 lockdown. One major development being the lifting of the ban on interstate travels. That will no doubt do some good to the economy. And talking about doing good to the economy, there is good news coming out of Revenue House in Abuja, where the Executive Chairman Muhammad Nami has approved the extension of closing date for waiver of penalty and interest on tax debt to August 31st, 2020. The extension is a follow-up to a number of palliative measures devised by the FRS to cushion the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic on the tax-paying public. The extension also applies to tax audit, tax investigation and tax review assessments, as well as already approved installmental payment under VATs. And from Minna, the Niger State capital, the state government has also announced measures aimed at cushioning the effects of COVID-19 on taxpayers. Designed to last from June 24, 2020 to March 31, 2021, the measures include the extension of the filing dates for annual tax returns by businesses and individuals from the statutory March 31st to September 30th, while the filing of monthly payee returns has been extended from the 10th day of the month to the 20th day. Penalties and interest on late filings, on payments and on remittances, as well as default on tax liabilities, have also been reviewed downwards to 5% for penalties and 10% for interest charges.
It is my privilege and honor to unveil the adhesive stamp for the purpose of stamp duty administration in Nigeria. And I also believe that this will enhance revenues for our country.
Now to the main business of the day. Today, we are going to be telling the story of the launching of the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Audit and Recovery of Back Year Stamp Duties. On Tuesday, the 30th of June 2020, the FRS played host to various stakeholders in the revenue generation sector at an event where the efforts that the service has been making in the last 4 years were further consolidated with a view to making stamp duty take its rightful place amongst the group of sustainable revenue sources for Nigeria. Chief host, Mr. Muhammad Nami, gave a background to the issue at hand.
Stamp duty, as defined by in Section 2 of the Stamp Duties Act, is an impressed pattern or mark by means of an engraved or ink block die as an adhesive stamp or an electronic stamp or an electronic acknowledgement for denoting any duty or fee. The stamp duty is not a thing of now. Stamp duty is an issue of federation account, and that has been the issue since Ordinance 41 of 1939. Outside that, there were subsequent amendments in 1942, some other amendments in 1947, there are amendments in 1957, then the consolidation, which is now popularly referred to as Stamp Duties Act Cap 6S8 LFN 2004 as amended. The Finance Act 2 has also put to rest a lot of things, particularly the fact that this is tax payable to federation account. And for that ambiguity to be removed, it substituted the word Federal Government of Nigeria and replace them with Federal Inland Revenue Service. As the world continues to be global in its activities and with the challenge of COVID-19, our ability to interact has further been limited. So what we do mostly now is electronic payment, and that is why we are talking to the money deposit banks that I have not gone to the bank for the past 6 months, and I continue to spend money. And for each transfer I have done to my wife, and for each transfer I have done to my sister, 50 naira was deducted. But we don't normally receive the credit in the stamp duty account. That is the essence of this launch.
The Executive Chairman FRS announced an exponential increase in stamp duty collections in the first 6 months of year 2020.
Another key thing we want to draw the attention of this gathering to is the total stamp duty collection in the year 2019, which stood at 18 billion. Total collection by FRS from January to June, that is as at yesterday, is as follows. We have collected and remitted for money deposit bank in this year alone 20 billion naira. Stamp duties revenue from stamping of instrument at CSC, we have realized about 7.9 billion. Amount hitherto warehouse with CBN now remitted to Federation account as at the point I was appointed stood at 39 billion. So total stamp duty remitted into Federation account from January 2020 to June as at yesterday stood at 66 billion. This was made possible because of 3 key reasons. The Finance Act that National Assembly gave us, sums were housed by CBN in respect of prior years, the technology we have deployed, and more importantly, the collaboration with the stakeholders, e.g. CSC and National Assembly.
Mr. Nami expressed optimism for a brighter future for Nigeria.
The collection performance of stamp duty hitherto witness is a tip of the iceberg compared to its potentials. The dependence of postage stamp for denoting stamp duty is one of the factors accounting for low collection of performance in the past. The introduction of stamp duties at the excise stamp will, among others, plug the revenue leakages, enable proper accountability and transparency, simplify administration of stamp duties, and reduce dispute. FRS is prepared to reposition stamp duties as next major revenue source for Nigeria. As revenue from oil and gas continues to dwindle due to global fall in demand and price of petroleum product,
Mr. Nami also pledged on behalf of the FRS to lead the way with regards to stamp duty collections on contracts awarded by the service.
We have a corporate head office that we are constructing. About 39 billion was paid for that project before I came on board. I have asked the Finance and Account Department how much stamp duty has the contractor paid on the project. So what I'm saying here is that the charity of this business is going to begin from Federal Inland Revenue.
This kind of nonsense has to end today. Why would the bank be removing somebody's money every time like that?
Mr. John.
My neighbor!
Yes, sir. Why are you rushing to like this?
Can you imagine? I just sent money for my son, and I got a debit alert of 15 naira from my bank as stamp duty. I am going to seek explanation from my bank because I made a transfer, not post a letter.
Mr. John. Let me explain what stamp duty is. Stamp duty is not all about postage stamp matters. The 15 naira is a stamp duty levy charged by banks on customers who make transfers of 10,000 naira and above from one bank account to another bank account.
And why should I pay stamp duty for my hard-earned money?
Mr. John, paying stamp duty levy is a civic duty for every patriotic citizen. The taxes we all pay are collected and used by the government to pay salaries and provide basic amenities for citizens. It's even easier to make stamp duty payments now. All you need to do as a taxpayer is to log on to the following: www.stampduty.gov.ng or www.firs.gov.ng and click on e-stamping. By the way, Mr. John, it pays to pay your tax, you know.
Oh, thank you very
Yes,
much.
sir.
Thank you, my daughter.
You're welcome,
My
sir.
regards to your family.
All right, sir.
This broadcast is powered by FIRS, Federal Inland Revenue Service.
Mr. Namive pledging the resolve of the FIRS to deliver the required sustainable revenue stream to the country. He was speaking at the inauguration of the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Audit and Recovery of Back Year's Stamp Duties. In a move indicative of the acknowledgement of the sole responsibility of the FIRS in the administration of stamp duty, the occasion was graced by the attendance of the President of the Senate, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Attorney General of the Federation, as well as the Chief Justice of Nigeria, also fully represented by representatives of ICANN, the CITN, and ANAN. As we all know, taxation rests on a tripod: policy, law, and administration. Taxation is of necessity backed by law. For further clarity, let's hear from no less a personality than the Attorney General of the Federation.
Let me, by way of background, state that the collection of stamp duty in Nigeria dates back to 1939 as introduced by the then British colonial government. Stamp duties are basically taxes paid to the federal or state government on documents, also known as instruments, such as conveyances on sale, bills of exchange, promissory notes, agreements, contracts, or documents such as letters of administration, certificate of administration, instrument of apprenticeship, and insurance policies, among others. Section 4, subsection 1 and 2 of the Stamp Duties Act empowers the federal and state government to impose, charge, and collect stamp duties in different circumstances. The federal government has the sole authority to import, charge, and collect stamp duties in respect of documents relating to matters between companies and individuals, group or body of individuals. The state, on the other hand, has authority to collect stamp duty in respect of documents executed between individuals or persons as such rates imposed or charged as agreed with the federal government.
It is obvious that the major assignment of the Inter-Ministerial Committee is the audit and recovery of back year stamp duties collection. The chairman of RAMFAC, Engineer Elias Mbam, shed more light on the genesis of the whole matter.
I remember we had series of meetings with FRS, with NIPOST, and with other relevant agencies with respect to this stamp duty. Indeed, it was the Commission that initiated the need for the review of that act, because we had issues with some companies collecting revenue for stamp duty for NIPOST, and we had a problem where the then act did not anticipate electronic transactions. So it did not reflect it. It was the Commission that initiated the process that led to the amendment of this act, and I want to commend the National Assembly for amending that act.
Also in attendance was the Registrar General of the Corporate Affairs Commission, Mr. Abubakar Galba. Only the other week, the CAC announced that it had commenced the seamless issuance of taxpayer ID along with the incorporation of businesses. The Registrar General shed more light on the matter.
CAC is one of the major stakeholders as far as stamp duty collection is concerned. We started using a manual system where FRS was operating from its own offices. Customers have to go to FRS to get the documents stamped before they present them to CAC. That became a big problem. So we got to a point where CAC had to provide accommodation for the stamp duty commissioners in all its offices. And I believe up to today, we have FRS in most of our locations, even though the process has become electronic. And we have done that at no charge, at no cost to FRS. We'll continue to do that. The law requires stamp duty to be paid on the share capital of a company at the point of registration or during the increase of any share capital. And that is paid ad valorem. In addition to that, the law also requires that the memorandum and articles of association of a company must be stamped as a deed. So, which means stamp duty has to be paid on that as well. So we have two forms of stamp duties that comes under our purview. As I have said, as of today, the payment is made electronically. We have achieved integration between our two systems, where customers don't even have to visit CAC or go to FIRS. Once they submit their applications online, the payment is made automatically, and what is due to FIRS goes to FIRS account, what is due to CAC goes to CAC account. As at yesterday, we have taken this to a further level, where at the point of registration, the certificate of registration comes out with the tax identification number of the company. So that has dispensed with the need for customers to apply to FIRS for the issuance of TIN after incorporation. These are all part of the ease of doing business initiatives of the government.
Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, who stood in for President Muhammadu Buhari, inaugurated the Inter-Ministerial Committee on the Audit and Recovery of Back Year Stamp Duty Collection from 2015 to 2019.
In the face of dwindling oil revenue and the global shift away from oil-dependent technological products, it is even more compelling now to begin to think out of the box in order to safeguard the future of our country. Therefore, this administration has resolved to widen the revenue base by activating the stamp duty revenue collection, which has been neglected for more than 20 years. There is assurance that the collection from stamp duty will be second to oil revenue, as it has the potential to yield up to ₦1 trillion revenue annually if properly harnessed. This Inter-Ministerial Committee on Audit and the Recovery of Stamp Duty Collection is being inaugurated today to serve as a timely intervention in the country's search for ways to augment its revenue generation drive to avoid sliding back to recession. The Inter-Ministerial Audit and Recovery Committee, in essence, is therefore expected to judiciously undertake an audit and recover on behalf of government all stamp duties charged from January 2016 to date, but yet to be remitted by the relevant ministries, departments and agencies, money deposit banks, and Nigerian Interbank Settlement System PLC NIPS, amongst others.
The Inter-Ministerial Committee having been inaugurated, the event proceeded with the launch of the FIRS stamp duty adhesive stamps. It is hoped that, as has been pledged by all the stakeholders, stamp duty will stand up to be counted as one veritable source of sustainable revenue for the country. Oil, move over. Stamp duty, step in. Companies' income tax, step up. Personal income tax, stand up to be counted. But then, this caveat.
I want at this point to also add that we should rather expand the tax net. Let's not burden our businesses or our citizens. There are so many businesses that are not captured. There are so many people who are supposed to pay taxes today who are not in the net. Let's expand and ensure that we have many more Nigerians who are supposed to pay taxes in the net. And you have our support at all times, FRS.
Yes, indeed. That is how it is supposed to be. More people paying, that is, a wider tax base. That will lessen the burden on the few who are paying right now. So it should not be higher rates. It should not be more taxes, but rather everybody paying. We must emphasize at this point that stamp duty is not a new tax. Not at all. The first law guiding the administration of stamp duty dates back to colonial times in 1939. Next episode, we will be dealing with matters arising from this event. On what transactions or on what instruments does stamp duty apply? What are the rates? And of what importance is stamp duty to the taxpayer? Do well to join us next episode. Before we go, let's hear a bit more from Mr. Matuluku. Remember, Tax Matters is 20. What is the story of Tax Matters? It's a celebration special. So how did it all begin?
I can say taxation found me. Taxation found me in the sense that it all began in the last place where I worked. My last agency was an agency called Inter-Public Nigeria Limited at Oyingbo in Lagos. And we found that almost on a daily basis, the local government people were coming to our office. The state government will come, the Lagos Internal Revenue Service. Even the FRS came calling one time. I do remember one particular day that the local government people came, and they were about 14 in number in a Danfo, this Volkswagen bus. We call it Danfo in Lagos, with 2 or 3 policemen. I don't know what got into me, but that day I said, don't you people have any work to do? I was so pissed off. What do you think we are doing here? I mean, this man, referring to my boss, has decided to give employment to people, and you are messing us up like this. They couldn't answer me. They were shocked because I challenged them. I stood up to them. They left. I can't remember how we resolved what they came for that day. But I remember Mr. Oluwole, my boss, deciding on that day, because it was up to her, that we should bring down our signboard. We had this big one, Interpublic. We brought it down. The state will come. Somebody came from FRS to come and ask about VAT. And our man Friday, he was accountant, he was secretary, he was everything to my oga, Mr. Dameda, was discussing with her, and I was overhearing them. It was a small office. And I got pissed off once again. And I got up. Madam, where are you from? She said, from Obalende office. Do you know what we do here? She said, yes. I said, what do we do? She looked at me. I told her this is an advertising agency. And so, when you give us 100,000 naira to put up a full-page advert in the Guardian, that money is due to Guardian, and we will get a commission. Depending on how big your agency is or how big you can negotiate, that still remains the same today. You could get 10% commission or 15% or 20%, even 25%. That's how it happens all over the world. So if you want VAT from us on that transaction, it is on our commission, not on the 100,000. If you want your VAT on the total amount, you collect on commission from us and go and chase Guardian for the remainder. She said that I was too bold, that I was rude to her. I said, Madam, don't come here again. If you come here, I'll come and report in your office. And she left. She never came back. Then a letter came from one of them, whether it was LRS or FRS or the local government, I can't remember. A letter came, and I decided that day that the reason why these tax officials were getting away with what we were getting away with was lack of information on the part of the populace. Like they say, information sets you free, knowledge sets you free. And I decided I was going to do a program. As far as it concerns taxation, it was the harassment of the tax officials, an inspiration from God Almighty.
Celebrate with us. Tax Matters is 20 and it is marvelous in our eyes. Thank you for watching. Let's do this again next week on the same station, same day of the week, same time of the day. Bye for now.